Back to the now. The fact that we constantly leave the present moment to go to the past or to the future outside of what is strictly necessary for practical purposes in our daily activities has been a source of disgrace for us. Waking up from the dream. Be wisely aware of your surroundings and listen. Why do we go searching, going to the future or to the past in space temporality in our minds, if everything comes to us in the present timeless moment? The more we go to the past or to the future, the more we create illusory space and time. If we do not change ourselves, the world does not change. Because when we face the reality that we have created, we usually fall into our own traps, fascinated by some aspect of what we face, such as an attachment, desire, frustration, etc. The solution in each case is the now. There are countless distractors in our world that contribute to the dream of our conscience, worsening our current situation. And here are some examples. The routine activities, the daydreaming in the past or in the future, to be immersed in the social networks constantly, the super connectivity that the tablets, the video games, the cell phones and the computers provides us, consumerism, and to engage in multitasking at the same time. Also, we're being subjected to the collective dumbing down caused by television programs, movies, and other media that lie to us and manipulate us, and the submission to addictions of all kinds in which we all participate and use as escape valves, some of them openly promoted by our society. All this guarantees our permanent dream and illusory state, since the now is the only reality which we can deal. The past and the future are illusory concepts. Now, let's ask ourselves, why is all this happening to us? Because the mind is the battlefield in this world. Jacobs in 2015 affirmed that it is not a battle that is fought on a physical plane, but spiritual, and that spiritual warfare consists in fighting against the forces of evil in our minds. The advantages of the now. The advantages of being in the present moment in a sustained manner make sense to most of us, at least intellectually, since suspending our resistance to be in the present moment gives us the possibility of being more physically, emotionally, and mentally engaged, not with the head, but with the experience of being aware, living to the fullest, going with the flow and not against the tide, connected with life and without the limitations of the notion of time. It is, in a word, a purer and less fragmented state or quality of being, of existing. Here are some of the advantages that provides for us returning to the now present moment in our existence. First, consciousness of our environment. This means that we can fully appreciate the space in which we are interacting, whether walking, driving, resting, etc. It is also a good measure of protection because with this awareness we can notice something that is out of the ordinary in our environment. Second, connection with the Tao, with the essence and the flow of the universe. The concept of the Tao is fascinating because it is related to the origin of the universe, its order and balance that connects everything and everyone through constant change. In the Tao, we are all and all is everything. To be in harmony with the Tao, we have to abandon our own path and follow in its place the Great Way. In this manner, we will stop being untuned, desynchronized, and disconnected, since vibration and consciousness are linked. In the translation of Lao Tzu Tao Te Ching, the Tao books by Iki Preciado of 2006, it is quoted, "Non-being is the beginning of heaven and earth. That is why, with the permanent non-being, the hidden essence of the Tao is contemplated." Another advantage is self-observation. The growing ability to stay longer without the constant noise of our thoughts is conducted to self-observation. And this, in turn, helps us to know ourselves more because it helps us to be aware of our motivations, frustrations, feelings, emotions, sensations, behavior, and reactions to different situations, aspirations, and expectations. When arriving through self-observation and reflection at the bottom and origin of these fluctuations in a neutral and impersonal way and without self-condemnation, we will understand more the causes that originated them. Another advantage is intuition. Our mind is usually overwhelmed with data. Once the constant noise of our thoughts is significantly reduced through silence and thanks to our permanence on the now present moment, a latent capacity that has been suppressed appears, the intuition, which provides the person with a direct path to the impressions of your heart, and as a consequence, it provides you with knowledge without the need of reasoning or direct evidence. Another advantage is the absence of stress. When we remain in the present moment, all our attention and thoughts are focused on the immediate task. We're not in the head anymore. As a result, anxiety, worries, fear, resentment, remorse, and negative thoughts are absent. Another good advantage is energy. When our permanence in the now present moment increases, there is less waste of the energy that the Creator gives us for each day. Our daily bread becomes abundant, and the flow of energy that we have becomes increased, and with the capacity to increase our consciousness. And finally, focus, concentration, increased memory, and more connectivity, because as a natural consequence of increasing our energy and minimizing our mental processes, we have more focus and more concentration on our actions. Our retention of the present moment increases, as does our connectivity with everything that surrounds us and with whom or who we interact at that moment. Who will walk on this path? We need to establish a real contact with the universe in which we are immersed. Otherwise, we will continue isolated in a bubble of mental tricks masterfully instrumented by our ego. But how? That is the question. Everyone is talking about the advantages of the now, but nobody's writing about how to get there. Nobody tells us how to achieve the experience. There are no specific techniques or systems. There is no map to reach the treasure. A few fortunate ones have arrived safely to the goal, but how did they do it? Meditation, full attention, the direct path of pure consciousness, yoga? Many seekers have stayed there for years without any real progress. So what? It seems that the more they seek it, the more it escapes them. If we do not want to accumulate one more in our long list of disappointments as spiritual seekers, we need to find a real system that can work for each and one of us. The problem is that we have received only guidelines, not systems or techniques. At this point, nobody has to convince us that it is possible, but nobody has told us how it is possible. Through his teachings and in an article called Finding Balance of 2018, the spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle said, the supreme teacher is the present moment that is aligned with the great will of the universe that uses you as a vehicle to create, and this is the end of the ego's little wheel that generates more problems with what it creates. A way to the now. According to Robert Spira in 2018, our daily experience is made up of an endless parade of thoughts, feelings, and perceptions that seem to flow, but in reality the only permanent and unchanging component of our experience are the spaces between them, which are our form of pure consciousness. This awareness is not limited or defined by our thoughts, feelings, or perceptions. In this sense, we are really dreaming of our lives. We do not realize that before the experience there is only consciousness. The legendary Buddhist monk Bodhidharma, the first Chinese patriarch of Chan Buddhism, stated that if you use your mind to study reality, you will understand neither your mind nor your reality. But if you study reality without using your mind, you will understand both. If we follow this extract of wisdom, perhaps we can build a way to return to the now. Here's an idea. Why don't we consider the utility of directing our attention to some attributes of our physical body to try to escape the dominance of our minds? Most of us have 5 physical senses to perceive our world, right? Sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. In my opinion, sight and hearing are the most important of the 5, at least for our daily functioning in our 3-dimensional world. And in this particular search for the now present moment that we have started, these 2 senses can be extremely useful. In fact, some authors and enlightened people have mentioned the importance of these 2 physical senses for our awakening. Chang, in 2006, in his book Wisdom for the Soul, 5 Millennia of Recipes for Spiritual Healing, described interesting quotes that illustrate the importance of a silent vision. And one of those quotes is that of Huangbo Shiyun that said, "The fools reject what they see, not what they think, and the wise reject what they think and not what they see." Pages 735 to 736. But how to achieve the silent vision without the interruption of the mind? The writer Carlos Castaneda mentioned that when walking outdoors with his mentor Don Juan Matus, he asked him to focus on the sounds of his surroundings as a means to stop his internal dialogue and thus achieve inner silence. Focusing on the sounds along our path as we observe our surroundings, acts as an anchor that prevents thoughts from the mind from disturbing our vision, he asserted. The heart of this matter. With that said, let's talk about an easy and simple technique to become a conscious observer. The technique to become an observer without internal dialogue, attentive and conscious, requires apprehending with our will the elements of the now that are presented to us in our actions, such as the vision of what we have in front of us, and careful listening to sounds that accompany our immediate environment. Touch, smell, and breathing can also act as supplements and solvents for our mental activity. I wonder what the Christian saints who have entered ecstatic states in the presence of God heard and saw, such as Francisco de Asís, Ignacio de Loyola, Teresa de Ávila, Juan de la Cruz, or Padre Pío de Pietrelcina, or some seers like Francisco and Jacinta, or Bernadette, or Ivan and Vika during the Marian apparitions of Fatima, Lourdes, or Medjugorje. The two senses which with the aforementioned saints and seers have participated in the presence of God and the spiritual dimension are precisely sight and hearing, and this makes us think that we're on the right path in the description of the aforementioned technique. It is interesting to see that some prayers of the Catholic Church show profound truths. A prayer addressed to the Virgin Mary, Mother of Jesus, mentions 4 fundamental elements, so that those who pray can surrender completely under Marian refuge and protection. 2 of them that we have already mentioned here are eyes, vision, and ears, sound. Furthermore, language, speech, and heart, loving surrender, appear in the prayer and are necessary, a complement to consolidate the progress of those who seek to use the technique that I have proposed through vision, eyes, and sound, ears. In this way, not speaking badly of others, not criticizing, judging, or condemning others, and not complaining with our language very well used, will avoid more problems and anger, and will reduce the amount of thoughts that are translated into words and that through our own decrees are manifested in our daily reality. Jesus of Nazareth, referring to the importance of our words, affirmed, "It is not what enters the mouth that contaminates man, but what comes out of the mouth, that is what contaminates man." Matthew 15:11, New American Standard. Caring for thoughts and words will also open our hearts and teach us to love others little by little. Lord Buddha said it clearly, "Do good, avoid evil, purify your own heart." That is the way of the Buddha. As we continue along this path, we will notice that when we practice our vision sound technique, the intrusion of the mind and thoughts will decrease as we synchronize thoughts, feelings, and perceptions, the mental, the emotional, and the physical, gradually taking them to the ineffable terrain of the now present moment. It is important to note that, like any technique, this requires practice and patience, and that spectacular results are not obtained at first. Finally, the wise words of the Light of Asia, the Lord Buddha, quoted by Eleanor Burton 2010 in her book The Mystery of Past Life, page 35, summarize an intelligent way of using the past and the future in our lives. What you are is what you have been. What you will be is what you do now. If you want to know your past life, contemplate your current state. If you want to know your future life, contemplate your current actions.